Well, hello. Here we are, a little February thaw. Anyway, last week left off with the idea of you as consciousness being able to tap into that as an observer and a participant, and how to conduct your life from that participant observer perspective, as I described in the basketball game, and the effectiveness of being able to both be aware of the overview and be aware of what needs to be done here and now through your body and mind. And with that in mind, my first real powerful experience that I mentioned before, I'm going to reiterate it, and that is when I was in this shamanic workshop, and there was high-powered music, and there was this breathing, almost like a hyperventilating, but more circular breathing. And next thing I know, as I was lying on this mat in this workshop, I felt myself lift out of my body and speeding through space, what seemed to be like space, outer space, and then seeing three portals, three door frames, doorways, and within one was a Native American woman, a mother figure with her deerskin outfit on, and then there was a door frame after that with a looked like a version of my grandmother, a vision of somebody from the 1890s, kind of dress with the high collar, high button collars, and the skirt and the hair up, and then there was an empty one, and I found myself sort of speed up and shoot through the empty one. As I say, I was just a point of consciousness. I wasn't aware of any form whatsoever. And the next thing I know, I was in what felt to be this little flesh form, which in retrospect, I realized was my little fetal body in my mother's womb. And I was finding myself trying to get my balance and groping and coming to terms with being in this little flesh form, this consciousness suddenly being in this. And then at that moment, there was a real strong feeling that overcame me and just flooded every cell of this little body. And later, in retrospect, it was discomfort, a very painful discomfort. And what it was hunger, my introduction to hunger. And it's like every cell in my body's on fire, and I wanted to escape. I couldn't stand it. I wanted to get away from it, but I couldn't do anything. But then a still small voice said, "Witness this." And with that, I noticed there was another me. It felt like there was two separate sets of consciousness, one within the little baby body and one outside, hovering around. And actually, I didn't have any sense of a space or a form to that which was around. I just knew that part of me was in here, and another bigger part of me was out there. And then I came to think of this in terms of spirit, vast and extensive, the traditional word for consciousness, and soul, that portion of spirit that had come in and was enlivening and animating this little baby body form. And as I contacted this or became aware of this other me, besides this little body and little beginning formings of a mind with thoughts, I began to feel peaceful. And I was able to witness and observe this discomfort. It was still there, but I had a little different perspective. I had an observer and a participant kind of experience going on, which really was powerful and peaceful and reassuring as I just sort of witnessed, observed. Now this then passed, and I came out of the experience, and that is the same kind of thing that happened, except without the pain in the basketball game, where I was moving around, my body, mind is doing this and that and the other thing, but this stable, enduring, unchanging, unwavering place space of peace and silence that was above the basketball court that I felt myself accessing and feeling, while at the same time I'm in the game making moves and so forth. But from this other perspective, I was consciously choosing movements to make, passes to make, shots to make, defensive maneuvers, all from this place from which I felt I was choreographing and orchestrating the game, and that there was no one else in this other space except myself. It was powerful. So this idea of the observer now is been a big deal in quantum physics. And there's been experiments done all over the globe. In many instances, scientists in their labs doing experiments that are similar, that they don't know of each other, and arriving at similar conclusions. And one of the powerful, I guess, conclusions and experiences has been the idea that until, like with the experiments, until someone has observed, either listened to the data, like let's say a recording, or seen it, if it's visual, as Fred Alan Wolf, the quantum physicist, says, it ain't recorded until an ear hears it, an eye sees it, until a human consciousness witnesses it. And at that point, it becomes fixed. Now, there were these studies that I came across, and I've been inclined to try these on myself when I've been made aware of them. And they were called Time-Displaced studies. And in the Time-Displaced study, the experimenter had these recordings of a random event generator, random number generator. In this case, it was random clicks. And they made an audio tape, 2 audio tapes of this event without any influence, just on its own. It plays out, right ear clicks, left ear clicks. So what happens is they go through the span of time, a half hour or so, and they're doing these clicks are coming generated randomly, which ends up inevitably into a kind of a 50-50 by chance arrangement. So they play out the tape. They record it on tape. They play out this event generator, and then they take one of the tapes and they put it in a vault, seal it up. They take the other tape of the same thing, and they give it to a person who is going to concentrate on making it say more left ear clicks than right ear clicks, to deviate from what would happen according to chance. And so they spend some time doing that. And then when they check the clicks, the number of clicks and so forth, what they find is that indeed the person trying to influence the tape, and then when they played it, it had more left ear clicks than right ear clicks. They then take the tape out of the vault. Remember, this one was not influenced in any way. It was stored away. And they played it, and it had the exact same recording, which had more left ear clicks than right. Now, what they concluded was that the intention set by the person witnessing the tape had influenced it into having more left than right. At the same time, they wondered, did he change what happened in that event that was recorded on the other tape as well? Did he change it, go back in time? Did he change it at that moment? Or did he go back in time somehow and change it, what happened at the outset, so that what may have happened at the outset was a 50-50 arrangement by chance, but then when the subject concentrated on changing it to more left ear clicks, that change, what happened at the outset. So both tapes reflected that. So given this experience, I read about this. I had a friend who had a court case where they had submitted, their lawyer had submitted a brief, and it was in another state than where I was, about 1,000 miles away. And I had been down there, and I'd flown home, and I got a call that my friend was all upset because they had missed the court date that originally was set a month or so before by the judge who they went before with the opposing attorney. And this time, I get the call, oh my God, we missed it. I don't know what happened. And so at that point, in terms of experimenting, it occurred to me, and I thought to myself, I validated the person's concern and said, let's just try to be positive. Don't worry. We'll see what happens. But inside, I was excited. I thought, this is a time-displaced study. This is great. So that kept to myself. So then I had done some Reiki. I began to do some Reiki energy healing. And what I did was I asked for everybody to receive the healing they needed, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, which is my standard approach with Reiki, which I've mentioned in other presentations. Reiki, REI, is in Japanese, stands for universal. That's the suffix Rei, and the Ki stands for chi, for energy. So universal energy. So focusing this universal energy into the courtroom. Now the event has already taken place. But nobody knows what the outcome is yet. Nobody's listened to the random events, if you will, the tape. Nobody's listened to it yet. No observer has witnessed it. So I'm doing whatever I can to influence it, like the subject in the experiment. In this case, to a good outcome for all involved, presumably for my friend to get what they really wanted, but for the judge to receive a healing, the opposing attorney, for the attorney representing my friend, and my friend, so that it would all work out in a way that would be truthful and beneficial. And I was pretty clear that my friend's position was a pretty solid one. And so anyway, I kept that in mind, and I really put the belief on that. So the next day, when my friend contacted her attorney, the attorney contacted the judge, she found out she got everything she wanted. The other attorney got nothing, and he was there representing himself, and they didn't show up. My friend and her attorney didn't show up, and yet it all worked out. And so that was an example, again, of the observer hadn't fixed the event yet. The three of us who were key in this didn't hear anything about it for this particular side of the equation. And so it was open to be influenced. And so whatever happened at the outset, even though I was working on it, many hours after the event had supposedly taken place. So this is sort of the magical piece, the unordinary kind of things that can happen when you really begin to get it, that you and I are consciousness, and that observer that was so powerful in helping me with the primal pain of hunger, and it helped me in this basketball game, and helped me help my friend, is that part of us that we really want to access. And that in quantum physics these days, what's being talked about is that the fundamental reality is consciousness, is that self-aware unified field. They call it unified field theory. That at the basic level, you and I, even if you are where you are watching this video, and I am making this video, and even though we're miles apart, you and I are connected as we are to all the things we see in this room, out in nature, throughout the universe. And the quantum physics concept is entanglement. That at the Big Bang, everything is connected, and then blasts outward, and everything is entangled. Everything is connected in some way. So, at the level of atoms, at the level of a little bit more of a macro with just as physical beings, we're contacting the air, and the air is all over the globe. So, just like the air in this room and in the room you're in, and it is sort of, without all these structures in the way, it's the same air. It's the same space connecting all over. So that space of awareness is what you and I are. That silent space of awareness from which we then focus through our bodies and minds to what we want to accomplish. So again, remember, the mind is more like a magnifying glass, a focusing machine, if you will. And as you learn to focus more clearly and sustain that for a little bit of time, you can begin to get results that you want to get in life. So think about that this week as you go through your life. What you focus on, that's what expands. So if you approach your day looking for things to appreciate, things to feel good about, more thoughts will come related to that theme, just like a chain of associations. If you're thinking about how I'm going to be done in and how I'm a victim, then what you'll focus on and what will be coming into your awareness will be situations of feeling victimized and so forth. So this is where we have some control, and this is where we can take that power that we are as consciousness and focus it, just like a magnifying glass on that brown leaf as a child, burning a hole in it by harnessing the power of the sun, which is a good analogy for who we are as consciousness, that which illuminates and lights up everything, the light of consciousness. So have a great week and give this some thought. Notice what you're focusing on. Take care.